What's going on, you guys? It is the watch list. It is a Monday. It is a new week here, you guys. Did we wrap up week 4? Or was that 3? You know, it's been so long, I can't even keep track. We've been on forever. I mean, what can you do about it except watch? Now, by the way, all you guys that have been watching, of course, we love you. We appreciate you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also tell your friends, tell your family as much as possible because we're doing things here. And not only are we doing some things here, we're doing things with a good friend of mine. His name is David Schuster. He is the Rebel HQ contributor, and of course he guest hosts on damn near everything on the TYT network. What's going on, David?
Standards are awfully low on TYT, Jayar, but I am so glad to be with you on this Monday, and I'm so glad it's not last Monday.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I'm just glad that you're in a good mood because Michigan alum like to get into things. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm not going to make this mistake I made on Twitter last night. It was a sad situation. I understand why the coach John Howard was so upset. I get it. I would have been just as upset, but we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. I mean, fine, no follow-ups, even though I love to do those things. Speaking of things to get upset and angry about, this first story that we've got is definitely going to be something that has been getting under people's skin. We saw this happen at the end of last week, so let's jump right into Kim Potter. Kim Potter, she's the officer who allegedly confused her taser for her gun, or her gun for a taser for a gun. And she shot Daunte Wright, and she's been sentenced now. It's only 2 years in prison. Let's watch how that happened.
Ms. Potter, will you please rise? Given all these considerations and having carefully considered the comments of the family of both Daunte Wright and the comments of Kimberly Potter, as well as the arguments of counsel, it is the sentence and judgment of this court that you shall be committed to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 24 months. You shall serve 2/3 of that time, or 16 months in prison, and 1/3 on supervised release, assuming no disciplinary offenses or conditional release violations. You may not use or possess any firearms, ammunition, or explosives. You have the right to appeal the conviction and sentence. You may be seated, Ms. Potter.
Wow. So after that conviction went down, it took a while, and the very soft-spoken judge there, talking about what has actually happened there. The family of Daunte Wright and their attorneys did point out how upset they were about this decision or this sentence. So Daunte Wright's family attorney, Ben Crump, said that they do not believe Daunte got the consideration he deserved after former police officer Kim Potter was sentenced to 2 years in prison for his 2021 death. They said, "We continue to fight for equal justice under the law. It can't just be a concept, it has to be real," is what he told reporters. So before we get to other aspects of how the justice system continues to not really fully punish those that break the law or do things like this, kill another human being. Before we get to some of that stuff, I just want to get your first thoughts here, David, on how this went down, because over the weekend, people have been discussing this.
I thought this was terrible, a terrible sign. And fine, if the judge was somehow swayed that maybe Kim Potter seemed nice or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, if this had been a black man who had inadvertently killed a white woman police officer because he reached for the wrong self-defensive weapon, whatever it was, there's no way he would have gotten just 16 months plus 8 months suspended. It would have been years and years and years. And regardless of of Kim Potter's record, regardless of her service, the fact of the matter, she made a fatal mistake, and there have to be consequences for it beyond just a slap on the wrist.
Well, she's not going to be able to possess a gun for that whole time, as the judge pointed out there, and also she has to serve these couple of years. Now, if we think about the kinds of sentences people do get when it comes to lower level crimes and drug possession, things like that, people spend 20 years in prison at times for stuff like that. There's no across the board standard here, so it's just on the luck of the draw. The matter you get a judge that likes you or thinks that you're not that bad of a guy, or it was just a mistake and a one-time off thing. But it's never always across the board normal that way. So whenever you get specifically people protesting about what was happening with racial injustice in our judicial system and these unfair types of rulings and sentences in this point, you have to probably think about how much you're proving those points if you don't want people to continue to push back on that happening, you would think, but they just don't seem to care. I don't know. There's other parts about this I want to jump to really fast too, because not only with Kim Potter, but we've also seen this popped up, I believe, just before the weekend started. The Florida court overturned a conviction of the Miami police officer who shot an autistic man's caretaker back in 2016. I remember this story and it was pretty horrific. And I was like, this is cut and dry, straightforward. Let's watch what happened there.
In the middle of a North Miami street, Charles Kinsey tried to coax an autistic man back to a mental health center.
I was really more worried about him than myself.
You can hear Kinsey, a counselor, advising his patient. The young man in his 20s sat cross-legged while holding a white toy truck. Kinsey was unarmed, yet instinctively he kept his hands in the air.
As long as I got my hands up, they're not gonna shoot me. This is what I'm thinking. They're not gonna shoot me. Wow, was I wrong?
Kinsey said he heard 2 gunshots. He was hit once in his right leg.
I'm like, I still got my hands in the air. I say, no, I just got shot.
Still holding his hands in there. Now let's see what happened with that case. So Florida's 3rd District Court of Appeal overturned a conviction for misdemeanor culpable negligence for Jonathan Aleda after determining it was invalid because prosecutors did not allow testimony during a June 2019 trial from the SWAT commander who trained him. This is what the documents show. And in a statement emailed to CNN, Florida State Attorney Catherine Fernandez Rundle said the decision is disappointing to all who believed that this shooting incident was unnecessary and correct. The office may ask the appeals court for a rehearing. So she pointed out there that all those who believed that this shooting incident was unnecessary and incorrect, who doesn't? That's the only question. Who doesn't believe that was unnecessary and incorrect?
Oh, and it was also, they charge it as a misdemeanor. So, I mean, the cop who decided to open fire as opposed to, I don't know, doing his job and going up and saying, let me have your toy truck and making sure that the poor autistic guy was not armed, which he clearly wasn't, but instead just to go ahead and open fire. I mean, that's ridiculous. And the idea that he would just get a misdemeanor because of that, as opposed to, some sort of felony for mishandling a deadly weapon, or, I mean, it's so bizarre to me. And then to have the misdemeanor overturned
it's
because
crazy.
some SWAT guy didn't get to, I mean, that's crazy.
We started a slap on the wrist and then he has to put the Band-Aid on the slap just because it's, again, and then so if you want to complain about people protesting in the streets and then some of those things turning violent, maybe you should stop doing these types of things that actually show how much you just don't care about folks' lives. I want to move on because while we're on the subject of cops and how they want to make sure their images are squeakier, cleaner than normal, we do have a case up in Oregon. Police departments, they're always having a hard time with recruitment. There's been incentives that were put in place. I've seen by other law enforcement agencies that said one of the big perks is that you've got qualified immunity. Yes, that was a real thing they put out on an ad for future potential police officers. But this one particular police department up in Eugene, Oregon, they have a different approach. They want to let you know you can be a badass cop. Watch.
Even when they feel irrelevant, even when they feel like they're not making a difference or that they're not able to help a situation that they so profoundly want to help, the key for me is to still bring them back to a sense of relevance. They're still relevant in this community, they're relevant in this world, and that they make a difference. When people feel like they're relevant, they have a tendency to show up every single day and give their best.
321, in service.
David, Eugene police. I mean, listen, I don't know whether or not I want to be there for the big game.
All right, I'm ready to do this story now, Jayar. I'm ready.
You can work the big game. You can arrest homeless folks for being on the street. I mean, you can run a bomb, a robot into a building. You can blow up dirt. You can do backward spins. I want to see that part again, you guys too. You can do backward spins with your police SUV. Man, they're equipped with look at that. Listen, you guys know I love to drive. And I had a friend in college who was like, I'm gonna take a stunt driving course. And I was like, sign me up, bro. Because it looks like fun to do. I don't know if that's part of the training. Maybe they should teach them some de-escalation tactics. I'm not saying it's specific to Eugene police, but in general, if they're doing backward spins like that, and man, I guess, sign me up.
Well, and I wonder, if all those people who do stadium security at the Eugene, Oregon, the Oregon Duck football games, they're like, oh yeah, I could be a police officer. I don't have to just take people's tickets. I get to blow things up. I get to eat some donuts, and I get to hand out stickers to nice white little girls. What fun! Really? That's the job? Oh, come on.
But you know what? That attracts people. They said before, after the Forensic Files shows came out and all those Law and Order. I don't know if it's Law and Order specifically, but the shows that start talking about how forensic science has helped solve cold cases and all that stuff. This is maybe years ago, I heard this stat. It said people who wanted to get into forensic science type of work exploded. And like people who took those courses in college exploded, majored in that exploded. And then they found out forensic science is science and it's really hard. So similarly here, people be like, oh, I can be a cop, I'll do some backward spins, I'll go to Oregon games, I'll do some bomb squad techniques and blow up dirt. Then they get there, and it's the type of things that happen. So in October 2020, the city of Eugene had to settle a civil rights case. Now, the lawsuit was first filed after Eugene police officers threw an explosive tear gas canister, I guess they were gonna be on the ad, and shot pepper balls at Houston while he was recovering in a protest. This is a Black Lives Matter journalist. So I mean a journalist that was covering the Black Lives Matter stuff. So they threw it at Houston while he was covering a protest on May 31st, and that's according to a press release. Now during that mediation, Houston requested several remedies for the incident, including a proposal to increase transparency with the Eugene Police Department and city regarding protests. Discipline for the officers involved in assaulting him, changes in police policy when interacting with journalists, and the end of the use of Bearcats or other military vehicles during protests. Then the city ignored those requests. Of course, because they can't put it in an ad if they stop using all those things and blowing things up, make sure they jump on and tackle people at first notice. You gotta make the highlight reel, right? It's just the way these things work. Sign you up, David?
Yeah, if I get to use a Bearcat or if I get to blow things up, sure. Especially if there's qualified immunity and I can do whatever the hell I want and the taxpayers will cover my legal bills. Woo-hoo.
It's I don't know, we'll see. These types of things, it's like Straight Outta Cops, which I'm not sure if kids even know that show anymore. Is that show still on? It's one of those things that gets people to think this is a cool job, and I get it. But when are they gonna put some of this budget, some of this attention, some of this energy to teaching people the way to do it? It's maybe just as boring as forensic science if you do it the right way.
That's a great point, because that was a really, really slick ad. I mean, that must have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce. Oh, that's right. They could have given some of the cops some training about how to de-escalate for that money. Oh, that's right. Sorry.
No, they don't need to be there. Let's get to one more story, you guys, before we take this next break, because this stuck out to me, and it was a bit of a disagreement this morning. Not disagreement, we saw it two different ways, and I'm very curious how you're gonna see this, David. So let's check this one out. Republicans, they're definitely trying to find a way to navigate during the Donald Trump era, the post-Donald Trump era that continues to be the present, because he's still controlling things within the party. Now, enter Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina, and he was asked by Maria Bartiromo about his future, potentially in politics, and what he might want to do when it comes to another potential President Trump.
President Trump called Mitch McConnell a disaster. How are you navigating this? Well, Maria, you're right. President Trump's position in our party is powerful, and I think he's still the most powerful voice in politics without any question. What we know for sure, Maria, is that the road to socialism runs right through a divided Republican Party. And while we may have some fractures and even some fissures, the truth is putting America first means uniting the Republican Party. Let's have these conversations, debates, and fights after we win back the majorities.
Senator, you said that President Trump is still the power in the party. Does that mean you would be willing to join his ticket? Are you going to run in 2024, or would you be open to a vice presidential role in a Trump ticket?
Well, I think everybody wants to be on President Trump's bandwagon, without any question. One of the things I've said to the president is that he gets to decide the future of our party and our country because he is still the loudest voice.
Now, the back end of that, Dave, is when she was asked whether or not he would jump in with Donald Trump on the ticket if he decides to run again. And I saw that as him saying hell no, but trying to say it in the nicest way possible by saying, well, who wouldn't want to be on his bandwagon, which is a bad term. No one likes being on the bandwagon. That's a negative thing. But who would want to be on Trump's bandwagon? And after being on his bandwagon, then we have to make sure that we follow through on conservative policies and principles. And like he ran away from it, I feel like. It was like, why are you asking me this? Don't assume.
And I think you're right. I think on his mind, actually, Tim Scott wants to run for president. He doesn't want to run to be Donald Trump's running mate. He's got a book coming out. He's raising a ton of money. I think he wants to have his name talked about in the Iowa caucus's New Hampshire primary as a potential Republican presidential nominee. And he can't fathom that when you've made up your own mind that, oh yeah, I'm going to be the nominee, the idea that he would then be Donald Trump's afterthought, probably he doesn't want to go there. However, if Donald Trump were to run and to give the nomination, I guarantee Tim Scott would lick his boots if that's what it took to become Donald Trump's running mate.
But that's the thing. See, this is after seeing all. I wonder if which Republican is going to finally. There's been others, but they end up leaving and quitting and all that stuff. But which one of them are going to finally look up and realize and go? Anybody who is given total loyalty to this guy doesn't get any of it in return, and in fact, gets negativity back once they do the one thing that he doesn't like, which is anything that doesn't supply him with more praise and more chances to run away from his legal responsibilities. Once that happens, you're done. You're like, who's heard of Jeff Sessions since? What about Mike Pence? Remember what they said to him? Watch this.
Historic day.
Mike Pence was the standard establishment guy that was supposed to give some legitimacy to Trump while he's the crazy one to give them both sides of it. And maybe it was a smart thing to do, but what Trump didn't ever have any thought process in was continuing to let him be that guy. They needed him to be the sycophant, the one who cleans up after him. And as you point out, before I let you get your other point in here, David, as you point out, Tim Scott, he's raised a lot of money, $7 million just last quarter, as this pointed out from the Washington Post, for something which should by all accounts be a pretty sleepy re-election race for his actual seat as senator. So he's also doing something a lot of presidential candidates also do before running, and release a book, as you said, David. So this guy is, it looks like he's gearing up, but I didn't see that coming. I don't know if he's going to get the kind of support that he needs, or maybe he'll fall back into a vice presidential role. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think he'll get much support in a race for a Republican presidential nomination. But I did hear one Republican strategist suggest that for somebody who looks up at the possibility of being Donald Trump's running mate, the one thing they look up and see is, well, 4 years, if Donald Trump were to win, Donald Trump can't run again. So you wouldn't be in that position of having to try to steal the election if Donald Trump were running for re-election and having to sort of override the certification process as Mike Pence was being asked to do. But having said that, let's suppose that the 25th Amendment somehow comes into play and there's an effort to try to, remove, if Donald Trump wins election, remove him from office. Well, the vice president at that point plays a pretty crucial role. So I think, just gaming it out, even being Donald Trump's vice president, if that's what they're thinking about, still becomes awfully tricky.
Yeah. I mean, anything you do with Donald Trump becomes tricky because Donald Trump is tricky.
Yep.
Let's go to this break, you guys, because I want to hear what you guys have to say about these first few stories. And also, when we do come back, we've got some Marjorie Taylor Greene for you. For some reason, she just can't figure it out. She can't figure it out. Everyone treats her like she's crazy. We'll be back.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. No,
we'll see. Poor
Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute. I didn't say that about Lori.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip in the Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Back on the watch list, everyone, with you. I'm gonna read through a few of y'all's comments. Don't forget to let your friends know how awesome this is, because you get to chime in and let me know what you think. So straight from Twitch, on any of these platforms. On Twitch, RC Chick 87 says, sounds like she was gonna cry the whole time, but not for Daunte. course, that's Kim Potter. She was probably preparing to see an actual sentence, but didn't see it. Abstract Dragon also on Twitch said this kind of advertising is very on point to the incel community. That's talking about the Eugene Police Department and those ads about how awesome it is to be a cop and do backward spins. Mac Bain said, forgive my language here, I'm gonna look for it. But the only fissure in the Republican Party can be the rectal fissures Trump has by now from all the sycophants crawling up his behind. I should have read that one. I read every other one except for that one beforehand. YouTube Super Chat, thank you very much. Jason Ray, back on Kim Potter. She kills a man and gets 2 years. Crystal Mason voted after she's told she can, gets 5 years. Our justice system is a failed system or working as planned? It's the question you may always want to ask. Let's get to other answers to maybe some other questions you guys might have, because I want to get straight into Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's crazy.
It just bothers me so much. They treat me as if I'm some kind of crazy person, or like I have 3 horns coming out of my head. But what they don't understand is they're the ones that are crazy, and they're the ones that are so disconnected.
Well, that's the gaslighting that they're engaged in. I mean, if you look at it, the trends worldwide are to populism and the people, not even about conservative or liberal. And deep down, they know that. They're trying to gaslight us. At least the controllers at the top are. But I think the average leftist, I agree with you, actually does think you've got 5 heads or I've got 6 heads, and that they actually believe their own BS.
Man, that straw man with that BS is serious. I mean, because Alex Jones has 5 hits. All you need is that one, and it's still empty. Anyways, there's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She jumps on with Alex Jones to talk about how everyone treats her like she's crazy. So let's talk to Alex Jones about crazy. So by the way, she can't figure it out. Maybe it's the fights that she gets into with everyone as she can in Congress. Maybe it's the way she got kicked off of all of her committees because she keeps spouting violent and ridiculous rhetoric. I don't know. I can't figure out what it is. Or maybe it's this. Let's watch.
This is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real. The Green New Deal, surprise, serves China and China only. You can go ahead and put number 1 up. So today, talking about the Green New Deal and the all-out war on the men and women.
Nailed it, Scooby-Doo. Now, if it wasn't that, maybe it's something a little bit more serious about how crazy she is. Maybe it's this, watch.
Rational Jewish person didn't like what happened in Nazi Germany, and any rational Jewish person doesn't like what's happening with overbearing mask mandates and overbearing vaccine policies.
You know, we can look back in a time in history where people were told to wear a gold star, and they were definitely treated like second-class citizens, so much so that they were put in trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany. And this is exactly the type of abuse that Nancy Pelosi is talking about.
It's exactly the kind of abuse that she's talking about, gas chambers, because that's what's happening. Or maybe she got even more serious when she decided to chase down David Hogg, who was a victim of seeing his friends get killed by a mass shooting at his school. And she decided to chase him down and ask him why he's in favor of gun control measures. Watch.
David, why are you supporting the red flag laws? If Scott Peterson, the resource officer at Parkland, had done his job, then Nicholas Cruz wouldn't have killed anybody in your high school, or at least protected them. Why are you supporting red flag gun laws that attack our Second Amendment rights? And why are you using kids as a barrier? Do you not know how to defend your stance? Look, I'm an American citizen. I'm a gun owner. I have a concealed carry permit. I carry a gun for protection for myself, and you are using your lobby and the money behind it and the kids to try to take away my Second Amendment rights. You don't have anything to say for yourself? You can't defend your stance? How did you get over 30 appointments with senators? How'd you do that? How did you get major press coverage on this issue? And how did you get kids? Why do you use kids? Why kids?
She can't figure it out, David. She doesn't know why everyone thinks that she's crazy.
Well, a couple of things. First, to her point about crazy, I don't think that I'm certified in terms of the mental health field to be able to make a clinical determination if she is in fact, I don't know, crazy, a lunatic, narcissistic, psychopathic, insane. But I do think the evidence is very clear that she is uninformed, she is illiterate, she is stupid. She is, I don't know, gazpacho, whatever that thing was, and she's not exactly a member of the Genius Club Mensa. So maybe she's just confused about what it is that the left is calling her, but she is certainly an idiot.
I'm curious as whether or not she was trying to get some kind of sympathy. She's like, I just can't figure out why people treat me like this. Well, think about how you treat others. Now, this is the thing, whenever a-holes start running around and talking about how everyone's treating them, and they expect everyone to forget how they've treated others. So when someone comes at you with some negativity because your entire existence, your entire popularity is based off of how bad of a person you are, and you embrace it. That whole chase down of David Hogg, there wasn't, in case people don't realize this, cameras don't float around people's heads and just follow them. That was set up with someone to film her doing that the entire time because that was supposed to be something to get attention for. It wasn't because she actually wanted answers to those questions. She needed a new boogeyman, and enter David Hogg, victim of his school being shot up, because that's a great person to target.
Yeah, and
this is the plan.
And there's some thought that maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene has a plan to run for president, that she's getting some encouragement that if Donald Trump doesn't run, that she should. I think she should run for president. I think she should actually go out there and try to campaign, because the number of crazy things that will happen, that she will create, will keep us laughing literally throughout the entire presidential campaign. She will not get any delegates, she will not get any votes. It probably won't humble her, but she will be a laughing stock, and she represents a certain wing of the Republican Party that deserves to be laughed at.
Well, if nothing else, we'll at least get more of a vision into what the Republican Party really is on a national scale, because maybe people just don't see this yet. We're all involved in it, we're wonks, so maybe we're only ones seeing it, or maybe 15% of the population. We'll see. There's other crazies within the Republican Party that surround themselves around Donald Trump, and that next one is Roger Stone. Let's jump right to that one. Donald Trump's buddy, longtime confidant and advisor, Roger Stone, he's dealing with some issues. And in fact, he's gonna make sure that he doesn't have to deal with them anymore. Now that the Durham report has come out, he's asking, how can I sue Hillary Clinton? He talks to his supporters though, let's watch.
I need your help now, because you see, now that we know the Russian collusion delusion is a fraud, it means my conviction was a fraud too. And I'm ready to sue Hillary Clinton and those who have violated my civil rights. I want to get back some of what they have taken from my wife and my family. So help me sue the bastards by sending a contribution to stonedefensefund.com.
Now, I'm no attorney, but I'm not sure how that matches up. I'm sure, yes, you need money to sue people, but why do you need regular folks' money to help you in your private beef with something that happened based off the Durham report, which Durham isn't even backing up anymore at this point? But in case you guys don't remember, this is part of what happened with him because of that conviction, and of course got his sentence reversed, overturned, not overturned, but commuted by Trump. This is what Roger Stone did. He was convicted in November of 2019 for lying to Congress, witness tampering, and obstructing the House inquiry into possible Trump collusion with Russia. In February of 2020, he was sentenced to 40 months in prison. However, he was pardoned by Trump in December of 2020 before he began serving his sentence. That's what he was convicted of. He is a convicted felon, and he's like, here, give me money so I can sue the people who I was trying to avoid that investigation and avoid telling any of my details of what I know about Donald Trump is up to, because I'm Roger Stone, you should help me out. Now, by the way, this isn't the first time he does this type of thing, because still surrounding this report, the Mueller report back in the day when he was talking about Trump, Roger Stone wanted even more money from his supporters based off of protecting Donald Trump. See if you can make sense of this.
It's now abundantly clear that special counsel Robert Mueller is sifting through every molecule of my being in order to frame me on some concocted charge or charges with the goal to pressure me to testify against President Donald J. Trump. Well, John Dean, I am not. They are counting on the fact that I don't have the funds to fight their federal legal juggernaut. That's why I must appeal to you. Please support our president. Please support me and my family in this vital fight by going to stonedefensefund.com. I will never roll on Donald Trump.
Call me now, David. Are you gonna give some money to this guy?
Well, look, I got my own sort of funny looking black hat that makes me kind of look, it's a little bit silly. The grifting in this is crazy. I mean, all you need to see is, Roger Stone didn't have to say anything while he was wearing that shirt and that black hat to sort of know there's something a little bit off about him. Never mind what I said about people being crazy. But the other thing about it is, it seems like everybody around Trump has to engage in grifting. They just have to. They have to try to fleece their supporters, fleece whatever misguided love that people have for Donald Trump and make money off of it. And that's just like, Roger Stone's in it, everybody else around Trump is in it, and it's so sad.
I'm trying to figure it out though, but does this work? Considering he keeps doing it, I would think it does work. Or it doesn't work enough, so he has to continue to get a flow going. I'm not sure which way this works, but I'm pretty sure that the money doesn't really go to all these legal defense funds, calls to start some kind of legislation or sue someone, because as news reported, whether Stone will actually move forward with this lawsuit remains to be seen. He previously threatened, as we point out in December of 2020, to sue the Department of Justice and Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who investigated allegations of collusion between the former president and Russia. And I don't remember if there's a lawsuit or not, but I get the feeling there probably wasn't. Or maybe something very basic, something you just want to point out there and said, I did it, you guys, and then the rest of it went to my rent.
Yeah, or maybe there's something like rent or building fund or personal expenses or drinking fund, whatever Roger Stone may be needing to spend some money on. But the fact of the matter is, I think Roger Stone, he just likes the idea of being a tough guy, and so by threatening to sue somebody, he sort of gets to say, I'm tough. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to stand it. Give me $5.
I'm just trying to figure out though. Hey, these people are connected to what supporters of theirs think is the most powerful man ever and the most consequential politician of all time, Donald Trump. Why isn't Donald Trump's billions going towards Roger Stone's defense fund? How come everybody surrounding Donald Trump is having trouble with their legal fees? How come Rudy Giuliani had to start this? I can't remember what's the site where you read people's messages? I don't even go to it anymore. Where Giuliani has to do side gigs to get some money, and Roger Stone has to beg his people. Isn't there a point when you go, man, this billionaire really doesn't care about his friends, his loyal friends?
Well, that's the thing, is maybe that's where we should be surprised that Roger Stone is not teaming up with Rudy Giuliani to sell, My Pillow guy stuff and slippers and all that other thing. I mean, maybe they should all just have one grand all-star Trump appearance with Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and Melania and everybody else, and they all hawk like the most ridiculous, cheesiest products imaginable. That way they can all sort of say, hey, look at us, we got these great products, and it's all just a big joke.
It's coming. Let's take one more break, David, only for a couple of minutes, and I'll get back to more of y'all's comments. And we're gonna get to that back and forth that Tucker Carlson had with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because he doesn't do a serious show. All that when we come back.
We talk about TYT Army being so strong. Usually they help us run our show. Now they're gonna help us run the country.
Oh. Like this. It's time that we reclaim democracy for the people.
We had a huge victory for Wolfpack.
When Lincoln said this was a country by, of, and for, he said of the people, not of corporations.
Our representatives don't represent us. Whoa, democracy!
United!
We are!
We are!
Too strong! There's thousands of volunteers, and you could be among them. When you get the power back, oh, that feels good. This is just the beginning. Knock, knock. We're coming for them! Wolf-pack.com.
Mayweather will knock out Pacquiao. Floyd beats his wife.
Okay, I get it. You're progressive. You're looking for other progressive voices. Why? Because you want real progress to happen. You're tired of the why, regular stuff. You should be checking out the Young Turks. Why? Because who else is going to have Killer Mike talking about politics and social issues in his new TV show, Trigger Warning?
My dad wrote the story of his life. It's called The Original Young Turk. It's a book on shoptyt.com. Part of the story is how I became progressive. Now, he doesn't write about that per se, but in his life story, you see, oh my God, when a community helps one another, when the government also chips in and gives you free education, anything is possible. He went from an incredibly poor olive farmer to living the American dream.
It's the watch list, everyone, and we're back really fast because I love you guys' comments over on Twitch. River and Raven says, why do people act like I'm an insane moron? This is just like the gazpacho tic tacs of the 1940s. It can go on, and she'll continue to do it as well. I'm actually, I'd expect something like that from her in real life. Also, Uralino says, who gives Roger Stone money? Are we positive those people exist? Like there's a person who gets up and goes to work 5 days a week and then sends their hard-earned money to that guy. That really happens. I ask myself the same question because we complain and talk about how funds are limited. Maybe these folks have something stacked up. Maybe it's from savings. I don't know, but I'm not sure what they see then in what they've given and what kind of result they get back from it. It just doesn't seem to be a regular thing. Maybe that's why he keeps doing it. And lastly, Ray Turner, AKA the Bearded Dragon, says accepting a presidential pardon, back to Roger Stone, means accepting you were guilty. So, exactly. So where's your legal defense fund now? It's his pocket. That's what it is. Let's get to the next story about Tucker Carlson and AOC.
The funniest of all was hearing Sandy Cortez describe herself as a woman of color. She often does. No one ever dares to challenge that description, but every honest person knows it is hilariously absurd. There is no place on earth outside of American colleges and newsrooms where Sandy Cortez would be recognized as a, quote, woman of color, because she's not. She's a rich, entitled white lady. She's the pampered, obnoxious ski bunny in the matching snowsuit who tells you to pull up your mask while you're standing in the lift line at Jackson Hole. They're all the same. Doesn't matter which shade they are. Apparently the editor.
It doesn't matter. They're all the same shade. Doesn't matter what shade they are. She's the white lady. Sandy Cortez. There's Tucker Carlson talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and his latest chapter in his book about how he just needs to find some way to go after AOC based off of absolutely nothing. What is he talking about and what point is he making throughout all of that? It doesn't matter. AOC did respond to it though. This is one of those instances where I was like, I'm glad she can do what she wants, but I feel like she lowers herself to even respond to this. But she goes, this is the type of stuff you say when your name starts with a P and ends with a dejo, as we know what that is. And as we also know, it didn't stop there, because remember how much they were talking about. AOC points out that, oh my God, I'm so good looking, you guys are obsessed with me, and they were very like disturbed and disgusted by that. Here's Tucker Carlson talking about her some more.
Me to retire. By the way, the person who wrote this didn't even perceive how creepy it was. I'm alone today, Ocasio-Cortez says pointedly at the camera. Is it just us, or does that sound like an invitation to a booty call? Maybe one step from what are you wearing? Either way, it's a little strange. It's definitely oversharing.
So there's Tucker some more. Can't seem to stop thinking about AOC and being alone and all this stuff. It sounds pretty creepy, and AOC also responded to that thought. She goes, remember when the right wing had a meltdown when I suggested they exhibit obsessive impulses around young women? Well, now Tucker Carlson is wishing for this on national TV. You're a creep, bro. If you're this easy with sexual harassment on air, how are you treating your staff? She wonders. So this is on and back and forth. And before I let you point this out, because I know you've got some great thoughts on this, David, remember this point about Tucker Carlson and his show, because when they got sued, Fox News had to point out that it's just entertainment. So the US District Judge Mary Kay, in that she leaned heavily on the arguments of Fox's lawyers when they were trying to not pay out that money. The general tenor of the show should then inform a viewer that Carlson is not, quote, stating actual facts about the topics he discusses, and is instead engaging in exaggeration and non-literal commentary. It's a comedy show, is basically what they're saying. Any normal, rational thinking human being would go, this is weird. I guess I'll watch next week for the next sitcom.
It is weird indeed, but I do think there is something there about Tucker Carlson pointing out that his experiences at Jackson Hole skiing. I mean, most people can't necessarily relate to that. So maybe Tucker Carlson certainly skis at Jackson Hole. Maybe he has fantasies while he's there about AOC, and he puts it all together, and this is what comes out. It is creepy, it is strange. I don't think it's very entertaining, but a lot of people who watch him don't have much going on in their life. So
that elitist guy is talking about how elitist Sandy Cortez is. And while he wears his bow ties and hangs out at swanky events and hangs out with rich folks like this guy here. So that's who Tucker Carlson is. And again, it's because he's an actor. People write that. He's reading a teleprompter. In case you guys still don't know, that's a teleprompter he's reading. Every word that comes out of his mouth has been written beforehand for a particular general energy and an argument to be made, which, as the judge and Fox's attorney said, is comedy. Okay, speaking of comedy, I think we should go on to our favorite friend, Mike Pillow. I'm just gonna start calling him Mike Pillow. Mike Lindell of My Pillow. He's dealing with some more issues now. So Mike Lindell, now he points out to Steve Bannon issues that are going on with his banking and how his accounts are now being closed. The cancel culture is real. Let's watch.
Tell us what happened today, sir.
Well, I just got served the papers. They're closing my account at Minnesota Bank and Trust. That's Heartland Financial Inc. Remember, we brought it up a couple weeks ago, and all of you reached out to those to the bank president and stuff at Minnesota Bank and Trust, and I hadn't heard from them. Well, the cowards served this paper on Friday afternoon after the business close of business day. They didn't even bother to sign it.
Well, here's the papers. It just sounds like it's comedy. I get it that it's his accent. I apologize, but here's the papers. So about some details of why this happened to Mike Lindell and this particular bank. From Insider, it says they viewed 2 letters sent to Lindell by the bank dated February 11th. In one letter, the bank said Lindell's accounts with the bank would be closed by the end of business on February 18th, right? And it said any remaining collected balance in the account scheduled to be closed will be mailed to the address we have on file. Alternatively, before February 8th of 22, you may transfer using online banking the remaining balance directly to your other banking institution. So long story short, the bank said you ain't got to take your money home, but it's got to get the hell out of here. Just take it, please. So also, according to Lindell, his being subpoenaed by the January 6th House Select Committee for his phone records raised concerns at the Minnesota Bank and Trust and his parent company, Heartland Financial USA. He said senior executives at the financial institutions deemed him a, quote, reputation risk in a call with MyPillow's financial controller. And he's now speculating that people got to these folks at the bank and they intimidated them and the powers that be are coming for him and all this stuff. Maybe the bank just doesn't want to have their name connected to you anymore. You've got billion-dollar lawsuits coming your way. You've got battles back and forth at Fox News. You're putting out random things and continue to say you're gonna sue people and the truth will be told, and here we go with this. Nobody wants to, this is a normal banking institution. I'm not sure what other kind of business dealings you may wanna say they're involved in that you don't like, but right now they don't want their name dragged through the mud with you. I think that's something they can choose to.
Yeah, reputational risk, that is like the understatement of the year. I mean, nobody wants to be, anybody in their right mind doesn't want to be associated with Mike Lindell or some of these other folks. So go find, I don't know, the Bank of Trump or some other right-wing bank and stop complaining. The fact of the matter is people in Minnesota are embarrassed by Mike Lindell. People who talk like him are embarrassed like him. And there's no surprise that a bank that has done business with him for a long time thinks, you know what, let's just move on. Go find another bank.
Now, is there any realm in this where it's unfair because they're kicking him out of the bank? Like literally take your money and go. We don't even want to use it anymore.
Well, here's what could be fair. If Mike Lindell wants to go ahead and finally put together some actual proof and evidence to back up his assertions that the election was stolen and evidence that would, I don't know, survive through the courts, then okay, fine, you've got something legitimate there. But he has not even come close to that. He's not put any evidence together. And so for a bank that looks up and says, okay, this guy is purely political, he lies through his teeth, he's absolutely a fraud, why on earth would we want to have any sort of association with them. And until Mike Lindell can somehow turn around his own reputation, I think it's right for the bank to say, see you later.
Yeah, and it's weird that the only way you can get people to support you is to make them think this alternate version of reality. And that's the only way they can go, how dare they do this to him? Because then they don't see how obviously fraudulent everything he's been doing is, again, all in the name of Donald Trump. You destroy your life to this degree for that guy, and then you blame everyone else but him. I don't know what was slipped into his drink, but anyways. Back to Marjorie Taylor Greene, because we talked last week about Charlie Kirk, and for some reason these conservatives are just dealing in stand-up comedy. Let's watch.
And then, because it was so much fun, and I really want these people to exercise. Exercise is healthy for them, getting up and having to walk to the House floor. I did it again on the next bill. And then I did it again. And then I thought, oh my goodness, this is great. This is my committee. So I am the chairwoman of the Committee of the Whole. It's my title. I have my own committee. So I kept on doing it, and then, it was a little bit offensive to some people. And that was just so annoying. So Steny Hoyer, he's the leader over there in the majority party, and he'd be stomping over to Kevin McCarthy's office. What are you gonna do about her, Kevin? Well, let me tell you, Kevin can't do anything about me.
Kevin can't do anything about me except side with you every time you do insane things. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, for some reason this has turned into a comedy bit where she talks about how annoying she is and how she's the one congressperson who's doing the delays every time they need an opportunity to vote on anything, because that's fun. This is my committee. Again, she's referencing how she got kicked off of committees because of her violent rhetoric and how she's gone after other members of Congress. So some of these tactics, let's get some details, some of the tactics that she's so happy and gleefully talking about to people who have no idea what she's talking about. So the move forces House Democrats to delay votes on 13 non-controversial pieces of legislation. Those measures are generally passed with wide bipartisan support, either through voice vote or unanimous consent. Forcing a roll call vote on each measure would have taken up to 10 hours to pass the bills because of COVID restrictions in place in the House of Representatives. So directly, Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to point out, hey, I came to Congress, they kicked me off committees because I'm a disruption. So what I've done is become a bigger disruption for absolutely no reason. That's blatantly what she's saying there. And then does that end with, and then vote for me because I'm doing the work? We talk about how people don't like Congress and it's the lowest rated government entity. It's probably because of things like this. So let's take a quick look at what this did look like back in March when she tried to delay the vote on COVID relief bill. Let's watch.
This is a waste of money and a complete waste of time. Reopening America is a much better way to go. Mr. Speaker, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
The question is on the motion. Those in favor say aye. Those in favor say no. The noes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for a roll call vote.
Pursuant to Section 3S of House Resolution, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record third votes by electronic device. Members, this is a
seems like normal process, but then that second stage takes much longer. So therefore, things just don't get done. And these are things also Republicans were on board for. So really fast, Representative Rodney Davis was pointing out the shenanigans that Marjorie Taylor Greene goes through. He said, I think this is an end result of what the House has become, what the posture of the House has become. I think what you're seeing with a lot of the shenanigans on the floor is because so many members have so much time on their hands. That's Republican Representative Rodney Davis. David.
That's spot on, because you don't see Marjorie Taylor Greene working with other members, even her own party, to try to pass legislation. All she cares to do is to try to waste time. A lot of people think, well, she's a waste of space. Yeah, she's a waste of space. She's a waste of time. She doesn't care for the institution of Congress. All she wants to do is be disruptive, and that's where Republicans, a lot of them on the right, have gone.
And for some reason, listen, I pointed this out in last week because she mentioned Kevin McCarthy and he can't do anything about her. And how then after she got kicked off committees, it was not Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy has been silently backing her this entire time because he's afraid of Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump, this is one of his minions that still run around Congress blowing things up. So when she says he can't do anything about me, you know what Kevin McCarthy did last week? He's going all in further. So then he also endorsed the challenger to Liz Cheney, because I'm Kevin McCarthy and I want to make sure that I try to become speaker if we win the House in 2022 by any means necessary. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is still going after that guy who is still dropping to a knee to do everything that he can for her silently, because he still wants to have some kind of legitimacy, hopefully, when he thinks she'll be gone and he'll still be there.
This is where the Republican Party is. It's pathetic, it's sad. And again, for everybody who wants Congress to actually do something, even to be efficient, this is a crying shame.
Yeah, don't say you want Congress to be better if you're supporting her, because she just said, I do not, and I'm making sure that it's not. That's it for another day on the watch list. Thank you very much, David Schuster, the most professional man in journalism that I can tell. I mean, that's just my perception, and I'm gonna
happy Monday.
Live with it. Yes, happy Monday. See you now. You're all on board. Up next is the Damage Report with John Adirola, and until tomorrow, I'll still be watching.